What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Bachelor in Paradise episode 5 is here. We're back. Last week, we saw some more drama begin to unfold on the beach, along with a handful of strong connections still continuing to form, plus some new additions to the beach. And hopefully, this week we don't have to hear Dale saying for 50 times or about what seemed like a good quarter of the show saying deaded it. Hopefully we don't have to hear that at all this week, but before we jump into this week's episode, if you could, just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We'll have more Bachelor in Paradise content on the channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. So let's just jump right into this thing, but we pick up with Faith riding in on a horse to join the beach. So now there are 6 golden ladies and only 3 golden guys on the beach. Not a good ratio right now, but the boys do have the roses this week. Dale sort of apologizes to Kat, but they want to have a more in-depth conversation. Specifically, Kat is stuck on him saying, like, you don't know, like, my history or upbringing, like some sorts of that. And she's like, you don't know my background. Like, you don't know, like, what I've, what I've gone through in my life, basically. So they just want to have a further, more in-depth conversation a little later on. But April wants Dale to do a body shot after her, and he obliges, and hope her grandkids aren't watching, as Kathy said. But yeah, Paradise is paradising, and I gotta say, I think more golden bachelorettes have done body shots than any of the regular bachelorettes. So shout out to them. I mean, living their best life up on the beaches in Paradise this summer. But Leah and Jonathan apparently had already met before this and were, sort of friends. And they have a conversation and, is the only one that Leah is kind of interested in, as she said, that's on the beach right now. And she does ask him to go on the date. Nancy asked Gary to go on the date. We saw her get a date card last episode once she joined the beach, along with Leia, obviously. And Kat asked Dale if he's interested basically if he's still open to go on a date. He says, I don't have the intent to, but I don't know. But in reality, we see his confessional. He is open to exploring things that he said, I'm here on Paradise and, I'm going to explore. But Jonathan and Leia talk about on their date, what they're looking for and have a lot of similarities and they laugh a lot and they do have a really good chat. Jesse shows up to the group and brings a date card for Faith and also tells the group that there will be a chemistry test coming up. Birds of Paradise about animal attraction, and given the commercials, you might not want to watch it. We'll get to that here in a second. But dressing up in costumes, basically performing a mating ritual. Hannah and Wells will be judging, and whoever has the best chemistry gets some one-on-one time in the VIP suite later that night. And the guys start to put together their costumes. The ladies get their costumes on as well. Brian tells Jeremy that him and Parisa have been getting closer, intimacy-wise, and would love more one-on-one time. And Jeremy says that he doesn't want to talk with his mic on, so I'm assuming, thinks that he doesn't have the mic on or has covered it up, so can't hear, but we still hear him, because obviously it's Paradise. They have mics everywhere, cameras everywhere, so we hear exactly what he doesn't want to say on mic, and says that he doesn't want to win with Bailey because of Susie. And Brian says that, Jeremy saying that kind of puts a bad taste in his mouth, lying to Bailey basically this whole time. And, even says, I'm friends with Jeremy, but Bailey needs to know. So I think we'll put a pin in that for now and come back to that later. At Gary and Nancy's date, it's a cacao ceremony, and they both feel something afterwards and are open to see where it goes. And they even come back from the date, this kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but they were kind of all over the place. Like, definitely something weird happened on that date, but I don't know. They seem to have a really good time. And back at the resort, the chemistry test is ready to commence. And before they get started, another arrival shows up. It's Alicia from Grant's season. Andrew and Alex, Spencer and Jess continue to grow in their chemistry test. Parisa and Brian as well. Dale, while doing his dance, was dancing with Kat and noticed Alicia and was like, oh, hey, are you new? Hi, I'm Dale. Like, nice to meet you. Like, oh, yeah, let's talk later. They continue to dance, much to Kat's disdain as well. All of the men go do their mating ritual call, and Alex and Andrew and Parisa and Brian and Sean and April, shockingly, not Sean, and he was kind of paired up with Jill, obviously, after their one-on-one, date last episode. But him and April kind of, I think they shared a kiss. I don't really know what was going on down there, but they made it to the final three for the decision. But Parisa and Brian do win it, so they get time in the VIP or the VIP suite later on that night. Afterwards, Dale starts talking to Alicia. Jonathan and Leah walk into from their date and are basically like, "What in the world is going on?" Jill ends up leaving the party because Sean isn't really even paying any attention to her, and she feels like she's third wheeling. And Sean and Alicia, as they go off and talk as well, Jill even says, we both know that we're not going to end up together. Assuming, obviously talking about her and Sean, and she starts to pack her bags. Kat comes in to talk to her, and at the end of the day, Kat says that she respects it because she does deserve more than what she was getting here in Paradise. So Jill ends up saying bye to everyone and leaves. Brian and Parisa make their way up to the VIP suite. I think I got it right that time, but Parisa is ready to talk and open up and kind of just get to know each other too, kind of, and also, too, that's kind of, not saying this is the fantasy suites or anything, but, kind of something like this where you're going to get some time without the cameras on. It's like, oh, you kind of have some, superficial conversations or, like whatever while the cameras are still rolling. And then, you can go further, deeper conversations, as well. And, whatever else after the cameras turn off. And, she clearly gets that and is trying to just make lighthearted conversation. And Brian was having none of it. And he calls Parisa, I'm not answering these elementary school questions. I'm never going to answer what my favorite color is and stuff like that. And Parisa says it definitely burst the bubble. Back at the party, Alicia, thinks she has a connection with Dale. And Dale even tells her that, him and Kat have hit it off, but, they have some concerns and also feels like he says, in his confessional that he feels like he really knows Alicia really well already. And Kat is visibly upset, walks away, and Alicia and Dale kind of are like, that's a little dramatic. But Jonathan tells Kat that Dale said that he wants to go on a date to see Kat, sweat. And Kat asks Jeremy, and he says, Dale didn't say that, even though we got the video proof, Dale did say that. So obviously Jeremy was just trying to, defend Dale, I guess, in a way. So then Jeremy goes and tells Dale what Kat said, and obviously Dale can see, Jonathan talking with Kat, so assuming that it came from him. So Dale's, says, why would I try to get a rise out of Kat? Dale said, let me go clear this up right now, and jumps into Kat and Jonathan's conversation. And Dale is trying to say that he didn't say that he would go on a date, with anyone. And, but we have the video evidence saying that, he wanted to go on a date, or hopes he goes on a date to get a rise out of Kat, or, or him saying multiple times that he's open to going on a date and whatnot. So, it's just kind of funny, seeing it back, having that video evidence. Obviously, the people out there, they, the contestants on the show, they don't have that, video evidence, but, we see that here as the audience. And Jeremy asks Jonathan, as Jonathan is like, I'm going to excuse myself from this conversation. And, Jeremy asks Jonathan, why would you say that? Jonathan's like, I do not care. Alicia and Sean continue to talk, but, she says that he's been putting it on, pretty thick, hyping himself up, gassing himself up, trying to really go on this date with Alicia. But she does say that he seems like a copy-paste of her ex, which I'm guessing is never a good thing if the person is your ex for a reason. Nancy and Gary get back from their date with the same reaction, like, what in the world is going on? What are all these people dressed up in? And they're kind of in a daze, as I mentioned before, kind of out of it. But we jump ahead to the next morning. Brian and Parisa, sounds like it wasn't as romantic of a night as it could have been, and was hard to recover from Brian kind of being upset, or I think they mentioned tired, or exhausted, whatever, I don't know. No, like, it sounds like they couldn't recover from what we saw last night in the VIP suite, whatever. Anyway, Kim says that he hasn't been getting a lot of sleep, and says his heart was doing some really crazy things. I think he said his heart rate was up to like 154, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but was doing some really weird things, hasn't been sleeping well, and they have him go get an EKG just to be safe. Alicia is basically deciding for her date between Dale and Sean. Feels a little more towards Dale, but we'll see where she goes. Faith was going to ask him, but he's not back from his EKG yet, so she asks Kathy to go and conquer her fear of horses with her on this date. Alicia pulls Dale for a chat. They go and chat, and seems like the conversation goes fairly well, and seems to hint at, at least, context clues from Dale would be interested in going on the date. And obviously, we know from what Alicia said, we know what both of them have said from their confessionals that they're both interested in each other. So we'll see there who she chooses to go on the date. But, shout out to Kathy as we jump to Faith and Kathy's date. You know, she sounds like she is incredibly, scared of horses, but, she gets up there, she gets on the horse. She can't hear a word that Faith is saying as she's trying to give her directions of what to do on the horse, but she gets up there, she does it, and she has a good time even, she says. So shout out to Kathy for that. Kim comes back. Thankfully, his heart is fine. Thankfully there. Obviously, he's upset that, he didn't go on the date. Because obviously, as we know, Faith was going to ask him, and, he kind of felt something that, kind of wanted to go on a date with Faith, it seemed like, or wanted to, have a conversation, explore with Faith. But glad, took precaution and checked out that Kim was okay, and glad that he is okay. Kat and Alicia are talking, and, she says that she's interested in Dale as well, which, I mean, you got to kind of respect just saying it, like knowing, talking to the person who's, kind of in a relationship or has a connection with the person that you're also interested in coming in. So just kind of putting it all out there, and Kat looks like she doesn't want to hear any of this. And Kat says, like he said that he was going to be intentional with our relationship and whatnot. We kind of see some of their conversation from the day previous. Alicia asks Sean on the date. So the cat crash out is saved for now. I feel like there's more bubbling under the surface with these two, and I feel like it could, pop any second here. Sean and Alicia's date using the five senses, basically trying to guess what certain items you're using, smell, sound, touch, all these things. And both seem to vibe fairly well and hit it off for the most part, it seems like. Back at the resort, Parisa still feels, really that last night really ruined, and she wishes that they didn't win that challenge. So at the rose ceremony, there will be three ladies going home. Dale tells Wells that, basically that he feels confident in what he has with Kat, but he does see some qualities in other people that, he does want and likes. Alicia said that the date with Sean went as well as it could, but is still interested in has the most attraction to Dale still. Kat comes in, joins the conversation to hear about, her date with Sean and how it went. The final words that we get from Alicia, not the final words of the episode, but her final words are, all's fair in love and war. So I guess, we'll see if this Alicia, Kat, Dale, budding love triangle, we'll see where that goes next week as we get a look at next week. Jesse says this is where everything begins to change. We've seen this clip a few times now. Seems like this is where the competition for a $500,000 will start. Obviously, they kind of mentioned as kind of like a Bachelor Pad-esque type, type games. I'm guessing it from what we've seen trailer wise and what has been said in interviews. So then it looks like some more Brian and Parisa drama, and Brian possibly wanting to blow up Paradise by telling Bailey this information about Jeremy that we've seen from this episode. So it should be another interesting one, as it seems like we're hitting about the halfway point of Paradise. It seems like I forget how many, or I don't know how many episodes are going to be this season, but it seems like, with things about to change, it seems like we're at about the halfway point. So anyway, that'll do it for this one. We'll be back next week with another recap of Bachelor in Paradise. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video, but that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.